Welcome back. Here on Police Report, we provide you with information on crime trends, crime prevention techniques, and community programs. But you can get additional information by visiting the Baltimore County Police Department's website as well. The address is on your screen. Press releases from the Baltimore County Police Department can be accessed on the Baltimore County Police Department's website and on Facebook and Twitter. We encourage you to like us on Facebook and to follow us on Twitter for the latest news. The Baltimore County Police Department is now hiring police cadets and police officers. For additional information, go to joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542 to speak with recruiters. With us to talk about domestic violence is Officer Darren Kelly. Darren, welcome to Police Report.
Thank you, Major.
Now, this domestic violence is a very serious issue in our society these days. Tell us exactly what domestic violence is.
Domestic violence ranges from the whole spectrum. Starts with usually emotional abuse that leads into the physical abuse, and then on the utmost extreme cases, it can lead to death, and that's what we want to try to fix early in the stages of domestic violence.
Now, with domestic violence, let's talk about the physical abuse. What are some of the things we see in terms of physical abuse?
On average for this year, we've had over 2,725 domestic assaults, and assaults can range from the misdemeanor side to the felony side. And the misdemeanor sides are the punching, the kicking, the shoving, to the extreme of the assaults, which are weapon involved, could be knife, could be gun, to the act of strangulation, and that's what we're trying to identify for victims and their risk assessments when we have interactions with them.
Now, in Baltimore County, we take domestic violence so serious that, of course, every officer in patrol and the supervisors, they handle domestic violence cases, but all 10 precincts have domestic violence coordinators assigned to them also.
Yes, sir.
And explain to our viewers exactly what does the domestic violence coordinator do?
As you said, each precinct has its own domestic violence coordinator, and then on a daily basis, we will receive any domestic abuse report, which are your misdemeanor and felony assaults, to domestic incident reports, which are verbal arguments, and we keep track of those to kind of give us an overview of one's relationship. And then we also get the protective order service reports, we get the violation of protective orders, and then we get the peripheral crimes related to domestic violence, which are the harassment, the email misuse, the revenge porn, on occasion burglaries, and then the sex offenses, which is special victims has primary responsibility on, but we still try to help the victims.
So you guys follow up on these things?
Yes, sir.
And what are some of the things that you do to follow up on some of these domestic violence cases?
When we initially get the report, we take the report, we do our background checks, and a background check includes on previous history to whether charges were filed either by the officer or by the victim in these cases, and if the victim went down and obtained protective orders. And during the course of our abuse cases, we have what's called a lethality assessment. And then that lethality assessment, it's try to identify whether the victim is at high risk. And if it is at a high risk and it comes into us, each precinct partners up with a domestic violence advocacy group. And we go out and partner up with them, and there's a two-pronged approach to try to address the issues of domestic violence for victims and even suspects to try to realize that they can't be doing this. There's other ways to resolve their issues.
And supposing we determine that there's weapons in the home, like guns, things like that, what are some of the things that we can do?
Victims can actually, if the gun is involved or weapon is involved, they obviously take that as evidence. If there is an allegation of assault or abuse, and even if the firearm is not used in that assault, the officer can take the firearm for safekeeping if it's visible. If it's not, the officer can't go looking for it. If the victim says, hey, I really feel unsafe with this being in the house right now because things are too volatile, can you please take, and we'll take the weapons just to hold it until things calm down, and then we'll obviously release it back to them if they pass the background checks and stuff like that.
Now let's talk about emotional abuse. What are some of the things we see in terms of emotional abuse that our viewers should be aware of?
Emotional abuse can range from just the constant degrading daily, and it really wears down on a victim to where they just give in and they endure it. Some victims don't. They take it and then it only takes so much, and then say enough's enough, I'm done.
What about the controlling, the harassment of the kids in the home, those
Yep.
types of things?
The kids are also used as pawns in some of the extreme controlling cases. Pets are definitely, if you start seeing your pet being abused by your abuser, that's definitely a safety risk. Because if it's to the pet, that's to the kids, and it's to you. So, I mean, just for your kids and you alone, that's definitely a eye-opener. And say, hey, that's a warning, red flag right there.
Now, has there ever been any domestic violence case that kind of stuck with you that you handled that you remember?
There are unfortunate those times where we have tried to assist victims, and then those victims, through case after case after case, end up being victims of a homicide. And they're the worst cases that we deal with, because you always go back and you wonder what we could have done more. But obviously the ultimate responsibility comes down to the abuser who commits the act of homicide that kills their victims.
Now, what about the whole use, now that we live in a digital age, there's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those types of things. Tell us about some of the things that we see there.
I could tell you that in all the reports that we get daily, weekly, that the reports all have that one common factor, in which is social media. Social media is playing a huge part in these cases because the opportunity is, whether victims just talking to somebody just as a friend, and abuser doesn't see it that way, it just starts the whole argument, and then it just starts the whole cycle of violence, and that's just not.
And let's talk about that social media thing for a minute, because we see cases where somebody might be on Facebook, and their partner or their significant other might be communicating with somebody that they might not know, or somebody that's from their past. Talk about some of that.
There are those cases to where even if it's high school, a person they went to high school with, and they just want to, because the person is so controlling, usually in those type of controlling, they'll have to give, the victim will have to give them, the abuser, their password. So they will check and monitor all their facial or their social networking that they do. Even their phone, they have to have password to the phone, and there have been cases where victims will keep separate phones hidden from their abusers just so they can have an outlet to other friends, because victims usually will let one of their close friends know what's going on, or their family members.
Now, for our viewers out there, if they suspect that someone they know is being abused, or they might be the victims of domestic abuse, what can they do?
There are a lot of services available, and I think that's the biggest thing is victims not knowing what their options are. There are so many options out there. Whether you want to file criminal charges, that's just one aspect. There are many aspects. There's civil protective orders, and protective orders are great because they can basically remove the abuser from the home. Now, they are pieces of paper, and that's what I tell them. If the suspect's going to do something, that's what we go into safety planning with the victims, with our advocates, and they go over counseling and stuff like that. But there are so many things that a victim can try to do to help get rid of the situation that they're in and try to better themselves in that aspect.
Now, if they want to get additional information, can they call our community resources section at 410-887-5901?
Yes, sir. And they will put you in touch with their local precinct domestic violence coordinator. And each coordinator, we have many partnerships around the county that we use. My partners is Northwest Hospital's DUB program, which is a great program. There's also Turnaround. There's also, on occasion, we have used House of Ruth. There's Family and Children's Services. There's Family Violence Unit. And if we do try to encourage a victim to get a protective order, we refer them up to the Women's Law Center, which will have a lawyer that will represent them free of charge under the PORT program. And that will, it can be an intimidating process for a victim because, one, they're already being intimidated by and abused by their abuser, and then they have to go through the whole process. So it's better that you have somebody that can help you through the process, and there are many services available out there to help victims with that.
And why is it important to break the cycle of domestic violence in our society?
Because with the cycle, and that goes back to the cases that we've told. You asked me earlier about with the homicide base, those cycles keep repeating themselves. And when they originally start on the front end, they're just the pushing, the shoving, and the hitting. Well, then as the cycle keeps repeating itself, a cycle of violence, when it gets worse. The assaults get worse, the abuse gets worse, the emotional abuse, it's a lot. I mean, even with the physical abuse, some of the physical scars can heal. The emotional scars are going to last. So it takes a while, and there are services available to help victims deal with that.
Okay. We thank you and your fellow domestic violence coordinators for what
It's
you
our
do
pleasure.
every
Our
day.
honor.
You guys are unsung heroes in our department.
Thank you, Major.
We've been talking with Officer Darren Kelly of the Precinct 3 Franklin about domestic violence. If you would like more information, please contact the domestic violence coordinator at the police precinct nearest your home, or contact the Baltimore County Police Community Resources section at 410-887-5901. Once again, Darren, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Major. Appreciate it.
My name is Major Robert McCullough, and you are watching Police Report. Welcome back to Police Report. If you missed any part of this program or would like to see it again, it is available on the web. To see it, just go to the Baltimore County Police Department website and then click on Media Relations link and then click on Police TV. You can also follow the Baltimore County Police Department on Facebook and Twitter. That brings us to the end of this edition of Police Report, brought to you by the men and women of the Baltimore County Police Department and Chief Terrence Sheridan. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you'll be with us next time. I'm Major Rob McCullough, signing off for the last time. Thank you for giving me the honor of serving you. Remember, always be kind to one another.